totally. So from like, yes, so no lines. Like you put the lines in and all of a sudden you're stuck with notes, right? Like that's high school, right?
I was thinking about that last night. I was like, yo, I need a notebook, and I kind of like the way it looks. Because then you came over here with some other shit.
Thought process. It's all about thought process. And that's why, like, you see with this, if I can alleviate the stress of how you're thinking about the book, then we can fall into story. Story is where we retain everything. So here is just,
So I'm gonna get a
yeah.
blank one like that because I want that to be my front page.
Yeah, why have lines interrupt your notes? Take as many pages as you want, right? So you think about it like, you know those doodle softwares where you put little scenes and it keeps moving?
Yeah.
That's how you want to retain.
That's just a sketchbook, right?
Yeah, yeah, yep. That is all it is. All right, so in case you haven't noticed, Stephanie's still with us. I didn't just introduce her in the beginning. She's going to be with us throughout the entire class. Why? Because without her, I talk a little fast. With her, she gets to say, Jay, what's this? And what's this? I think my mom might even come in every once in a while. I thought it'd be funny to be like, yeah, Mom, what is it? You know, that'd be kind of good. But right now, you're going to catch a little bit. All right, Steph, what is it? She's not just an avatar. She's a real person. On the flip side, you know, working all those camera angles and stuff when he's not on the phone or falling asleep is my millennial David. You'll catch him a little bit later in the game. But right now, if you recall, we are here to talk about the state of Florida. Who's important, who's not important. You think Daddy DeSantis is important? He's not. He is elected, but the only person that's important that is elected in this class. Go to page 402. We're in chapter 26.1. And real quick on that top, you see where it says Financial Services Regulations? Steph, do not highlight that, okay? I just want to point out that that is just a class headline, okay? We have enough entities to go ahead and stress us out with it, right? Everything that you guys need to know is going to be on that stick figure of who? The Chief Financial Officer. So on 26.11, I want you to highlight that headline there. Chief Financial Officer, okay? You see how there's no governor, no nothing around. Straight Chief Financial Officer. Nobody else is important. Now, that first line right there, go to highlight independently elected official. Right under that, see, head of the Department of Financial Services. Member of the Financial Services Commission. That right there, without exaggeration, is probably 3 questions on the state exam. That is what they're identifying there, is that the Chief Financial Officer is the most important person to the business of insurance, right? And then on one hand, he has that Department of Financial Services that he's head of it. That is his office. He's head of the Department of Financial Services. The flip side, we have that member of the Financial Services Commission. That's where I come in, and I just told you, like, Governor DeSantis is elected, right? The Chief Financial Officer is also elected. That's why they opened right up with that, independently elected. Nobody appoints this person. Nobody. The state of Florida elects this person to run this business of insurance for us. So, so that opening line, that's our stick figure. That is our stick figure of a person with 2 sides. Why? Because we're about to learn about this. I'm not going to explain it all, but here I want you to make a big correction here. All right? The next paragraph down, you see where it says the CFO directly oversees 15 divisions and offices? And then it just starts rambling on, including a division of blah, blah, blah. If you were to read through all that crap right there, what you'll see is like almost more than halfway down, they finish that sentence. Dude, that's a crime against logic, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to outline it here just so you can see the divisions. But right up top where it says 15 divisions and offices, I need you to cross out 15. You too, all right? I want you to cross out 15. And above that, I want you to put 13 divisions. So you have the 13 there. And then you see where it says end offices, I want you to put maybe end and then put a little bracket right there, 2. You know, like a little number 2. All right, so now let's highlight this right here, okay? We know we're talking about CFO, but I do want you up top, they talk about Chief Financial Officer. Just highlight there, CFO oversees. Now you have your 13 divisions and 2 offices done there, right? Let's see, next line down, highlight rehabilitation and liquidation. Right under that, unclaimed property. Right after that, highlight insurance agent and agency services. And then a little further down, investigative and forensic services. And highlight consumer services. Jump over, see, and this is why I don't like this section, and this is why we do so much crossing out here, right? Skip over that whole and the Office of Insurance and Consumer Advocate. That's not even a real division of the DFS. I don't even understand why that's there. But right after that, highlight all 6, and then next sentence down, have a role in regulating insurance. Before we move on, though, I want you to do a little bit more crossing out in this section. This is actually this open right here, so you know. We don't cross out like this much in the book. This is how badly this is how bad this opening segment is. This right here is 9.6 hours. And can you imagine just getting the stick figure wrong? That's all we have to do here. They didn't even the way they explain whose role is what, there's not much information here, but instead of in fear of sounding redundant, they use different words to explain it. So here, I just want you to cross this out. A division of accounting and auditing. See in that second paragraph, second line down, towards the end of that line, does it say that in yours? A division of accounting and auditing? Under C?
Yeah.
All right, cross that out. And then right before the all 6, towards the middle of that paragraph where it says, and the Office of Insurance and Consumer Advocate, I want you to cross that out as well. We don't use that language in the state of Florida, and I want you to cross that out because who are the offices for? The offices regulate banks and insurers. We don't want to use those words for anything else but banks and insurers. Everything else that they use, they're using words interchangeably, but we're only tested on one version of the word. Okay? So one thing that I want you to do here is in the sidebar, okay? Like you see that little, to the left of CFO, put fire marshal, right? CFO is the fire marshal. It's a division of fire and safety and blah, 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 but that's very important because it's the division of the state fire marshal. So that's the one that's not on there, that should be on there. It could be a test question, and then the rest of this stuff is kind of crap. We're going to jump over the bottom of that, the rest of that 26.11. And then let's go ahead and just jump into the next, 26.12. Highlight the headline, so that way you've got the Financial Services Commission. And then what I want you to do is actually, and you too, see I keep on, just so you know, I'm going to have to keep on telling my sister, you too, with the underlining, because if you remember, I'm going to go through this a bunch. The first time you touch the word, when I'm having you outline it, do not outline and underline. Outlining means that we identified the dots, right? We identified what we're going to be studying. When I come back and explain it, that's when we underline the concepts, because we know. The only reason that I want I want all of you guys to underline in the headline commission is because they abbreviate everything in this class, okay? So they're either going to call it the FSC. The state on the exam will never call it the FSC. They do not use abbreviations, but they might call it the commissioner, and the commission has commissioners, right? If you've got a commission, a financial services commission that regulates banks on one side of the commission at the Office of Financial Regulation, and at the Office of Insurance Regulations regulates the insurers. Who heads it? Well, it makes sense. The commission has commissioners. You remember that, right, Steph? But here, underline the commission, because really just the last word, commission, because that's going to be an abbreviation they use very commonly all throughout this book and everywhere. So it's just nice to know. So on this one here, on the second line down, you see how it opens up? Well, if we read it, it's the Financial Services Commission is composed of blah, blah, blah. The CFO. Circle CFO if you can, all right? And in the margin, I want you to write member and then point to that circled CFO, okay? Because for some reason, they don't identify him as a member here. You know, they supervise. Look how this reads here. The Financial Services Commission is composed of the governor, CFO, Attorney General, and Commissioner of Agriculture. This commission, see, they already went to that abbreviation of commission, right? This commission, in turn, supervises the Office of Insurance Regulation and the Office of Financial Regulations. The problem with that is those members those people they just outlined, the governor, the CFO, Attorney General, and Commissioner of Agriculture, they're called members of the commission. That makes a lot more sense, and I want you to think about this from the standpoint of they run the state of Florida like a business, okay? So if they run the state of Florida like a business, do you expect the CEO, the CFO, and the attorney to actually be doing things for the people in their company? They make decisions, right? Same thing happens here. The elected officials, that's why on 26.11, they open with independently elected official. If we look down at 26.12 right there under Financial Services Commission, I don't know why they didn't use the same language. All of these people they mentioned are independently elected officials. No one there is appointed. The point there that they were trying to make up top is that Governor DeSantis or whatever other governor does not choose the chief financial officer. The Floridians, us, the Florida man and Florida woman, we go ahead and vote for our chief financial officer. So if you think about that, would we ever vote for our overseer? We never vote for a boss. We vote for an advocate. We vote for somebody to protect our rights. This is important because the CFO, we're about to learn, is head of the Department of Financial Services. You see how your book right there, Steph, goes from Chief Financial Officer on page 402, and then on the next page, it shows Department of Financial Services. So I want everybody to take from CFO right here, just draw a line and go to the next page and make that line and make a little arrow that goes down to 26.2 on the next page, because he's head of the Department of Financial Services. That's what they're talking about, right? 26.1. You can even do it right from that. It's like set up for you. Head of the Department of Financial Services. We'll make sure that CFO in the top headline goes right to Department of Financial Services, right? Now that should help you break this apart a little bit, because he's a member of the commission. Does that member part jump out to you now? He's a member of the commission, just like the governor. They're level playing field, you know, governor's just, he's the highest ranking, okay? So that's kind of huge on, you know, this first step on how we're going to be tested. But let's just go through this little section here, okay? So this Financial Services Commission, did we highlight there at the end? We just circled member and CFO, right? We haven't highlighted yet? All right, towards the bottom, that second line up from the bottom, see where it says supervises the Office of Insurance Regulation and the Office of Financial Regulations? I want you to highlight that, guys, all right? That's the only thing that we need to know about. So now we know that the CFO is a member of the Financial Services Commission, and their job is to oversee the OIR, which is the Office of Insurance Regulation, and the OFR, which is the Office of Financial Regulations. And that, like I said, should make sense, because never do we expect the CEO of a company to actually do all the work, right? We expect them to hire the people to do that. So this next line down, I want you to highlight that headline there, 26121, the Office of Financial Regulation. And then in the first line down, just since we highlighted the headline, we don't need to highlight, the name again. Just start with the abbreviation there. OFR is responsible for, and then directly under the for, the regulation of banks. Okay? If we wanted to be anal on this, guys, we would highlight the next sentence down, other institutions, but why bother, right? It's the regulation of banks. Now, let's see, we skipped the line under the regulation of banks, but dead center of the fourth line down, see head of the office? Highlight that, and then a little further in that line, highlight commissioner. You see where I made you jump over director or commissioner, don't I? These guys love their acronyms. You remember Deion Sanders back in the days? He was Neon, Dion, Prime Time. This guy had more nicknames than everybody else in football combined. I swear to you, that's how it is up here with the state regulators. All right, so you got that the head of the office is a commissioner. Right under the head of the office, see that OFR? Highlight OFR. And then next line down, almost to the left of that OFR, may investigate inside and outside of Florida. That's going to be huge. We're going to touch on that. What's that time? What do I got on time right there? 16 minutes? All right, so we're going to go for just another little bit right here, because before we go, I want you to highlight 26122, Office of Insurance Regulations. Right? And then we're going to do the same thing here. Just highlight OIR is responsible for, and then right under that for, the regulation of insurers and other risk-bearing entities. Now, I'm going to oversimplify this here, but I want everybody to relax, because I've got you for 40 hours, and this segment is 9.6. This is just about the book, okay? So I want you to look at these little bullet points, and I don't want you to highlight any of them, okay? We're all consumers. And Steph, you being a consumer, when I come to you and I'm an insurance agent, would you think that me as an agent, I make the rate for the policy that you get? The insurer makes the rate, right? Look at the rest of these. Policy form approval. Does that even sound like something an agent or an agency is qualified to touch? Absolutely not. Market conduct investigations. Market conduct. What are we talking about? How the insurer is communicating with the marketplace. How the insurer's practices are. So anything that comes in, like, Sally complained about an insurer who didn't pay her claim, who hasn't paid her claim after 60 days. Sally would call the Department of Financial Services. She doesn't call an attorney. We're about to get there, because in the next section we're going to talk all about the Department of Financial Services. But based on that opening section right there in 2611, the Chief Financial Officer is in charge of the Department of Financial Services, all right? So market conduct, when they're going to talk about the individual, they're going to talk about the specific frauds. They're going to give them a specific name for that person that they did. If they're vague about it, that means they're talking about the marketplace, which is the products we sell to them. If it was a personal infraction, they'll identify it. That's important, because remember, all banks, all lender discussions automatically move to the Financial Services Commission. And once you identify that the Financial Services Commission is responsible for all those businesses, which category does it fall in? Does it fall into banks, or does it fall into insurers? That's what this first page right here is going through. The fact that you highlighted member, huge, okay? Because they may refer to the members making a decision. If the members made a decision about marketplace practices, who did they make the decision against? Banks or insurers. The members, because the CFO is head of the Department of Financial Services, which means he never has to consult with anybody when it comes to things that happen to us, the consumers. And I say it that way because this whole section, you may think you're studying law right now, but you're not. I'm actually about to show you how to protect yourself on every policy that you have when it comes to a slew of different things. Everything that is regulated by the chief financial officer is protected by the chief financial officer. Don't think about this section as he's here to, point his finger like Big Brother. It's not that, no pun intended, but he's not here to point his finger at us. We elected him to protect us. If you think about this section from that standpoint, the things we're going to talk about stay super reasonable and easy to absorb, because you realize that no one ever really expects a consumer to be, 100% savvy. You have to talk to a consumer differently. Well, he views us all as consumers. The CFO buys insurance in the state of Florida. He's a consumer. So just remember that elected officials work for us. If you can compartmentalize that, then you see how they're trying to, when they come into a question, no matter how difficult the question is, just identify. Are we talking about businesses, or are we talking about us consumers? Because agents are consumers. And the next page over there, this is what I want you to highlight. Issuing insurer certificates of authority. Look, the only reason that's the one that you're highlighting is because you would think that rate making and the policy forms and market conduct are all the super important ones, and they listed that as the fourth one down. But I got this freaking question wrong, and it really made me mad because I assumed these other things were a little bit more important. But what that certificate of authority means is that everybody in this class right now is jumping through the pre-licensing hoop to get to get their license. They're going to take a state exam. We had to give up fingerprints. We had to, give a little blood and all this other stuff. It's not really true, but you know what I mean. We had to go through a full-blown background check. And then we had to get appointed with an insurer, learn how to sell the product, and then sell the product, okay? That right there makes us authorized if we jump through all of those hoops. Same thing is true with the insurers, okay? So when they talk about issuing an insurer certificate of authority, they're saying that they're responsible for making sure that every insurer and risk-bearing entity in the state of Florida who's conducting business has been vetted, has the proper amount of money, has the proper marketplace practices. And so they deem that as the number one responsibility of the Office of Insurance Regulations. I say that because if you get you'll see what I mean. I think that question I'm bringing up right now is in the back of one of the pre-licensing questions, sample questions in the book. And yes, it makes sense. Rate making, all this other stuff. Just remember, the most important thing for these regulators is to protect the marketplace against scammers and fraud, right? If the person did not jump through pre-licensing requirements, they do not have your best interest in mind. So that is the most important thing that it's highlighted now. And the rest of these, I know I told you not to highlight and underline, so don't highlight. In the next bullet point, I want you to underline the word solvency. And then the bullet point underneath that, I want you to just highlight the word viatical. Reason that I want to do that is we'll talk about, but that's future vocabulary, okay? And so once we're ready, we'll jump into there. Now in the next video, we're going to jump into 26.2, which is the Department of Financial Services. In this section, we talked all about the banks and lenders. We're pretty much done with the banks. We got another little section to outline. This entire class is built around the CFO and the Department of Financial Services. And so we'll be back.